how do you impact communities on a daily basis? And I like to say civil engineers are like the unsung heroes of society. As long as that everything is going smoothly and correctly, we're done our job. And so the example is like when you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth. Well, civil engineers, we're bringing the water to your home.
In engineering, you have all these different avenues that you can go, but the fundamental thing that we stop thinking about once we start working is what happens beyond the project.
They're working at Amazon. They used to play basketball with one of our project managers, Rodney. And he said, have you guys know anything about inspection? They said, no. They're just making it get by. They come to us and tell us we changed their life. We gave them access because we invested the time in people. We invested people.
Every single service that has been added to JQOL has come through an organic need or an area where we saw we can make an improvement. Want your 1 year and your 10-year goals to be. And I kid you not, it's very, very funny how quick those goals actually get hit when you start to write them down.
All right, today on the Allen Center podcast, we're joined by the leadership team from JQOL, recently named the 24th fastest growing company in Indianapolis, a multidisciplinary firm that's redefining how engineering impacts quality of life. Founded in 2019 by Jarvis Jointer, JQOL brings together civil, structural, and landscape architecture professionals under one roof to create smarter, more connected communities. From infrastructure upgrades to transformative civic spaces, their work goes beyond design. It's about equity, innovation, and long-term impact. In this conversation, we'll explore how JQOL's mission-driven culture, collaborative mindset, and technical expertise are shaping the future of the built environment across Indiana and beyond. JQOL was founded by Jarvis Jointer in 2019 with a clear mission to improve quality of life. Jarvis, what was the personal or professional tipping point that led you to launch JQOL?
Man, I would say there was a lot of things throughout my career to go out and be an entrepreneur and start completely from scratch. Literally, I was a partner in an engineering firm and decided I wanted to do something different. How do we really bring back the passion of what we do as civil engineers? We get to build communities, build cities. And that passion was like, how do we do that in a fun environment? How do we create that environment amongst ourselves internally, but externally, totally. So I went back to why I became a civil engineer, which was how do you impact communities on a daily basis? And I like to say civil engineers are like the unsung heroes of society. As long as that everything is going smoothly and correctly, we're done our job. And so the example is like when you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth. Well, civil engineers, we're bringing the water to your home. And then when you flush your toilet, we're treating the water that goes back into the ecosystem. And then when you get on the roads, bridges, whatever you're going to in the morning, that infrastructure, we're creating that infrastructure to make sure you get there and arrive safely. Then when you get to your establishment, your building, wherever you're working at, we're the structural engineers, the surveyors who want to help bring that aspect. So bringing that all together is what we really strive to do. And to make it fun of it, like when you see that communities don't grow because they don't have the natural resources for that quality infrastructure to build and grow. So that really was that passion of where JQOL and the quality of life really came from, is improving that quality of life on a daily basis and make sure that starts from at home into the work.
How has your experiences in larger firms or previous roles informed the values and structure that you wanted to embed in this company from day one?
I say we all are products of our environment. So you take pieces of everywhere you've been, your experiences in life, and you incorporate that into what you want it to be. And that's what I really want at JQOL, things that quality of life inside but outside, and where we're not really driven by, hey, revenue goals and things like that. We're driven by helping our people grow. How do we help the next person get to that next level? How do we help them achieve their personal goals as our staff? As we build people up, how do we bring people into this engineering community? Even people from outside of engineering, how do we give them the access to help grow and build, make successful careers? I always love it. Like when I see a young member in their bank calls, well, they're buying a new home, or then you say, oh, we're having a new kid. It's a new JQOL baby, but each person at JQOL is a part. Each of that piece of the puzzle is important because they help us build as we help them build. All of our staff, we say, well, you should be a part of the community. You should have a professional organization. How do you make that best person? The better they are, the better that JQOL is totally.
Cool. Very cool. Your firm's name, JQOL, actually embeds your mission. Can you share a specific project where that goal of improving quality of life was particularly evident, not just in the engineering deliverables, but in the long-term impact for a community or a client?
Absolutely. I think from our side, Jarvis hit the nail on the head when we talked about what the mission means. And it's the reason why every single person in our firm is here, is because in engineering, you have all these different avenues that you can go. But the fundamental thing that we stop thinking about once we start working is what happens beyond the projects, right? Most of the projects that we do are going to outlive us long, after we're gone. So from our side, when we look at these projects, we're making decisions based off of what is going to impact the community, what is going to make that positive impact. And we have turned down more projects than we've accepted to date because of that specific reason. I have 3 examples in terms of projects that we, really think have really embodied what we look for in terms of impact. So the first one being Frederick Douglass Family Center. If you don't know about this project, this park east side of Indianapolis was founded as the Black Park. It was the only park in Indianapolis that Black people could go to. And this community has been consistently underserved and is a community that really needed something to really drive towards something that was really positive for them. 3 years ago, we did a day of reflection and we brought our whole team out on a party bus and we went to all of our projects all around Indianapolis. And Frederick Douglass was one of those projects that had just started. And we went to their former community center. This community center is a masonry building. They have a mural on the outside wall. There's no windows. There's no natural light. It was falling apart. And we had our whole team playing basketball inside. But the biggest thing that you can see from that is, community centers are focal points for people to get together and congregate and really, grow together as a community. So fast forward to now, thankfully due to a combination of public funding and then funding from the Lilly Foundation, Frederick Douglass Family Center was able to happen. It's a 40,000 square foot, brand new, state-of-the-art community and recreation center. It's got 4 full-size basketball courts. It's got a podcast studio. It's got a hanging running track, a fitness center, a dance studio. And the thing that makes me so proud about it is how much the community rallied behind what this project meant for them. So we had, the community doing a fundraiser to help raise funds to bring one of the most famous Black-owned architecture firms in the world, Moody Nolan, on as a design partner to help fund their actual fees for the project. We had a full, minority, team working on this thing. And when we see that ribbon cutting happen and we go there and we hear the community stakeholders, we see the entire facility full. And you can look it up online. You can look up Frederick Douglass Family Center ribbon cutting, and you can feel the emotion in that building just from watching a video of them cutting a ribbon. And when I go back, I've done tours of that facility. I've gone back and looked at this park. It's one of my favorite parks in Indy, but the thing that I care about most is that every single minute of that day, that facility is fully utilized. I hear from people that, their grandfather is going and walking that track every single day to stay active, and you've got kids going there and learning how to play basketball and volleyball. And that is impact, right? We could build anything, right? We can design anything, we can build anything, but if you build something and people aren't utilizing it, it doesn't matter. Outside of the building side, on our public infrastructure side, we've done a lot of work with communities for rapid bus transit. So it's one of Jarvis's first projects that he got awarded was the Purple Line, and we were community engagement specialists for this project. So that's door to door, letting businesses and homeowners know what's going on from a construction perspective. If you know anything about the city of Indianapolis, public transit is something that we have to drastically improve upon if we want to make this a sustainable city. And thankfully, we've been able to be a part of 2 very impactful projects with the Purple Line and the Blue Line. And we're doing exactly that. We're bringing people that are representative of their communities going into these communities and being that liaison from somebody looking outside their door and saying, my pipes froze because you didn't throw rocks over the top of the pipe when you excavated it. How are we going to fix it? Instead of them calling a helpline and getting, a queued up number, they're getting a person from our firm who's then going and making action to help make that stuff happen. And what we see when these projects are actually open, we see the community get excited about access. We see people being able to utilize this infrastructure to actually be able to get to where they need to go in a city that's considered a driving city. And that side of it, of being able to give somebody the ability to change their life or get to somewhere where they need to go in a safe and meaningful way, we can just be a part of that. And that fundamental side of what we do, that is the single biggest thing that we focus on when we're looking at projects.
You'll have to share the link to that ribbon cutting videos.
Absolutely.
Podcast.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things. I mean, it's anybody that is listening or anybody that's not listening, I will tell them about that project because it is so important to see what the people experiencing a project actually get to see.
Well, there's nothing better than feeling good about what you do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's true fulfillment.
What metrics or how do you assess whether a project has lived up to that vision?
Yeah. I think it comes down to when we finish a project, right? You think of a project closeout in terms of any, standard design or engineering company. The biggest thing that people say is, all right, make sure you get paid and then you close the product out and you're done. We don't stop there, right? We're continuing to stay active with our projects. We're providing light to these projects wherever we can. Jarvis mentioned that we really do, want our people to be involved in not only personal organizations, but professional organizations. And as much as we can get insight on these through, building tours or, site walks or anything like that, we're trying to show that visibility. But the biggest thing from our side is, we're true community partners and we're going to ask for that feedback. We're going to be back with the community and we're going to be working with them. But it's really apparent if you just go to the projects that you worked on. And, Jarvis has been doing this a long time. A lot of our engineers have been doing this a long time. And when you have your family saying like, hey, did you build that? Did you build that? You can say, yeah. And like you see all those people playing in that park, that's a project that we got to do. Or you see, this new hospital downtown that's happening, that's a project that we got to work on. And that kind of thing of it's as simple as just seeing it. And that's the only thing that you have to focus on.
So it goes beyond just a simple transaction, obviously.
Absolutely.
Very cool. So JQOL brings together civil, structural, and landscape architecture and construction administration teams all under one roof. How does that interdisciplinary setup change the way you approach problem solving?
Yeah. So from our side, I think one thing to know about the journey of JQOL is every single service that has been added to JQOL has come through an organic need or an area where we saw we can make an improvement. Jarvis will be the first one to admit that I don't think we had building design or anything in the architectural realm in our business plan on day one, but we've had this need to be able to push and elevate the standard of our industry and also the standard of how we operate. So we have the JQOL way, right? And the biggest thing that we focus on is we want to make our clients' lives easier. And it's very easy to say you have all these disciplines in one roof, but if they're disjointed, then it doesn't actually make a benefit. So we have a full open office concept where we're working together and we've got people from all different disciplines working together. But I think in terms of like different strategies, one of the big ones that we've noticed has been a huge shift in terms of what our strategy is from a design perspective over the last year has been the integration of civil and landscape architecture. We've seen it done a lot of different ways on a lot of different projects. We've worked, with other partners and we love working with, every design partner that we have because all these projects don't happen without collaboration. But the biggest thing that we have noticed has been when we bring in a discipline that can stand alone as its own discipline in a project, regardless of whether or not we have everything on it, that is going to elevate the rest of what we do. So we call it civil engineering plus and landscape architecture plus. We're always going to have that influence of thoughtful design behind the, very articulate and design-oriented approach of making sure we're meeting all the needs from a civil site perspective on a project. But it's not just going to be a utilitarian design. It's going to have thoughtful sense of place, regardless of whether or not you have a landscape architect on it, because we have it integrated within our department. We've even had scenarios on projects where we've been able to leverage the fact that we have all of these disciplines in-house to help keep a project moving that maybe was stagnant. I think the best example that we have of that was our 6th library in the last 3 years, Fern Creek Public Library down in Louisville. It's our 3rd library with Louisville Free Public Library, and is a brand new library on a new parcel on the east side of Louisville. And we were working on a project, and we came to a standstill in terms of survey data. And project is moving along, and we needed to make sure we hit a certain schedule, but we were having a hard time getting response time from the design partner set up. And because we have survey in-house, we were able to bring our team in to help finish that. And sometimes you don't think that it's going to be structural and survey are going to be the ones that are pushing something forward, but it's thinking about it from that holistic perspective where the structural engineer on a project knows that we need this information moving forward, and we know what our capabilities are. So from our side, we're always going to advocate for we're better together, we're always going to be stronger, but at the end of the day, regardless of what discipline you get on a project, we're going to advocate to help push everything forward as best we can because we know how those disciplines should be reacting on our projects.
It sounds like you guys have solved your own bottlenecks.
Trying to, yeah.
That's awesome.
Working on it every day.
So engineering often happens under serious constraints, tight budgets, complex permitting, limited space. Can you talk about a project where those limitations actually sparked innovation for a better solution?
Yeah. So for us, every single project, it's funny when you start a firm right before COVID, which I think, you said it, if we knew COVID was coming, I don't know if that's what would have happened, right? But you deal with this all the time. I mean, the construction industry, cost is a big driver for us, and we've seen unprecedented escalation over the last 5 years. So from us, when every single project that we've hit, most of our projects that are complete now were designed and built in probably one of the most volatile times to design and construct. And we've had to build our expertise and growth along that way. But even most recently, so we are very involved in the largest public school referendum in Indiana public school history, the IPS Rebuilding Stronger referendum. We've been super fortunate to work on the structural side, on the landscape architecture, civil site, and survey side. But one of the big projects for them, Joyce Kilmer Elementary School, is a brand new elementary school. It's the only new building as a part of this referendum that was published out. And budgetary wise, if you know anything about referendums, is that you're planning and funding years in advance. So if we think about volatility to a market, you have price escalation over 3 years. That's going to drastically impact what you can get accomplished. So we started on this project with a incredibly talented design team. We had Perkins and Will, Meticulous, KBSO, and then the JQOL team. And coming into the project, that initial budget was over 40% over what the planned budget was supposed to be. And we are never going to take full credit for how we got this thing into budget. But I think the biggest thing for us was us being willing to think outside the box. We had a very talented construction manager on board in Skillman, and that was a fully collaborative approach where on a typical IPS school, we probably would have used reinforced masonry and steel. And we had a design team and our structural engineers and the architects that were willing to think outside the box. We ended up going with a precast system, and our background and our expertise in that material helped us leverage the maximum efficiency out of those materials to help get us there. And we bid this project out, and we were able to get this thing in budget. And that was all thanks to that collaboration. So with any project, you're going to have challenges, but I think from our side, we are willing to do whatever it takes. And when we make a commitment to a client and we say, this is the budget, this is what you're going to get, we're going to make sure that you're happy with your product. Because at the end of the day, all the design phases, all the hours spent, all the months that you go through preparation and construction, those are irrelevant. Is that product exactly what you wanted? And we will commit fully as a partner in the project to make sure we get that there. And if it's using our understanding or being able to sometimes even eliminate our scope from projects, if we don't think that that's an efficient way to use it, we're going to make sure that the end product is always going to be the most efficient.
How does your team go about turning those constraints into catalysts rather than roadblocks?
Yeah. I think it's being willing to sit at the table and have a conversation, right? I think it's so easy in the role of an engineer to say, I'm a sub-consultant in just this one aspect, so I'm going to stay in my lane and I'm going to do this. But we push all of our staff, every single person from the newest engineer who's out of school to the interns that come out, that we are collaborating across the board. And when you think about it in terms of a full collaboration and you're not operating in silos, that is where real success happens. I mean, when we see, a roadblock or an opportunity, I think, even with permitting, right, and getting through projects, that's a huge killer to projects, especially right now. And it's all based off of workload and what is coming into our, different departments. But our team saw an opportunity with this same project to help make a more efficient permitting process, where every project to date prior was hitting, I think, 3 or 4 months to get through permitting, just in terms of getting comments back. And our integration with this team and our understanding of the city and these process, we were able to take an outside the box approach and work hand in hand with our reviewer and get us to under a month to get our comments back. And that was unprecedented from that referendum. So every challenge, if you look at it from a perspective of it's an opportunity to make a difference, and if you don't think of it from this is unfortunate that we have to deal with this, there's always some kind of efficiency or some kind of innovation that can come out of that. You just have to be willing to have that conversation.
Very cool. Very cool. So JQOL is a certified MBE, and your leadership is refreshingly diverse for an AEC firm. How has that shaped your culture internally and your relationships externally with clients, partners, or communities?
So it's a very good question. Uh, I'll start off by saying that we got to show kids that you don't have to be a professional athlete to get out the hood. And I say that statement because there's not a lot of minorities that are in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. And in fact, it's declining. All right. So we are a representation. We are a national engineering firm that happens to be owned by a minority. And what that is, it gives us a sense that we have a duty to give back. That is the reason why JQO is started. We are a product of our system. We didn't do this by ourselves. We have lots of community partners who helped us and believed in us to help us get to this level. And so what we've done is we continue to create that next generation. We're a diverse firm. We don't have initiatives. The reason why we're 40% women, the reason why we're 15 to 20% underrepresented is because we breed that. That law of attraction shows that you can come to JQL and be yourself. Whether you wear crazy hair, whether it's locks, whether you have tattoos on your arm, we don't judge anything because our product that we produce of the community doesn't show anything. If we're designing a road, that's for everybody, whether you're black, white, gray, gay, whatever it is. Our products are communities where everybody has that equal access, and that should be a representative. And so some of the stories I love to tell is one of the two guys we've hired on, they're working at Amazon. They used to play basketball with one of our project managers, Rodney. And he said, have you guys know anything about inspection? They said, no. They're just making it get by. They come to us and tell us we changed their life. We gave them access because we invested the time in people. We invested people to give them, they're certified inspectors now. And they have these skills, lifelong skills that now they have something technical, a piece they can hold on and be whatever they decide to do in life. Guy named Orlin is retired from Lilly. His wife said, I want you out the house. You got to do something. But giving him another chance to be one of our best career workers. So we invest in time, invest in people, and bring them into the industry. We're not just, hey, grabbing people from other companies. We are really investing and growing. And so whether it's diverse, it's what we breed. It's just in our values, and people see that and feel that. And that's what's attracted them to us, why we're one of the fastest growing people. And it hasn't worked out every time, but we're not giving up on that. And so, yes, being a minority-owned business, it gives us the ability to do a lot of things and show a lot of other opportunities for people that don't have that opportunity that are in our place. Things like scholarships we set up. Like, I'm from the east side of Indianapolis, where not many people get out. A lot of my friends growing up are dead or in jail, right? And so being able to come out of that situation and going back to that community, these projects we're working on, as Dylan said, Frederick Douglass, the Purple Line goes up and down 38th Street. These are community projects that I grew up in and worked and been a part of that community. And so going back there, seeing how we can develop and grow and build has been amazing. And having this type of platform with JQO is what we want to do. And it's inspiring, and we're going to continue to do it. And we're not going to stop, whether things are getting challenged, MBE, DBE across the nation. We're still going to stay strong to our true values of who we are and our culture, and continue to make this industry better than where we came from.
Have you seen in any way how your presence as a minority-owned firm influenced project outcomes or inspired others in the industry?
Oh, absolutely. I would say that through me starting JQL, there's at least 4 or 5 other companies that have spurred and started because of what they seen. So there are tons. I'm a mentor to so many companies right now, and I continue to grow because I say, "Wow, I see you do it. How can I do it?" And I wouldn't be here if I didn't have people that mentor me. And I offer all the resources, whether we talk about finances, insurance, the things you need to do. And yes, we've grown really, really fast, but our duty is to help other people continue to grow and build their firms too. So yeah, if you look at from 2019, the amount of companies that have started, I'm pretty sure I've talked to every last one of them and given them advice on how they've been able to grow and build.
Very cool. So your team includes professionals from a wide range of specialties and backgrounds. What's the culture like behind the scenes at JQOL? Like, how do you foster cross-disciplinary collaboration, especially when teams are juggling everything from infrastructure to aesthetics?
Everything we've done at JQL is intentional. And yes, we started in 2019, but I started thinking about this when I first got out of college. So every position I took throughout my career was leading to there. And so when I say that, everything from our culture has been very intentional. If you walk through our office, when we first renovated this building, every office was on the outside with the windows. Like, if you got a high position, you get yourself an office, and I'm here and I'm hired. We are all equal here. Like, we are here grow to be. There's nothing that I don't ask my team to do that I wouldn't get in and do it myself. So our directors work amongst their team in an open, collaborative environment. And that's how we continue to get work done. Where there's an intern sitting next to a partner at the company, we're all working there to build to deliver the most quality solution for our problems. Unlimited PTO. I remember when I first told some other engineers, like, "What do you mean you got unlimited PTO? How are you going to track their time? When you going to know what they're doing?" We have a system built on trust. You don't come in and you clock in and you clock out. We don't have one of those old times. And I remember when I worked at a factory, I had one of those clock in, you're a minute late, you get a demerit or something like that. It's built on trust. We have to deliver a quality. And if we don't trust our people, then why are you working there? Why are you working there? So our system is built on trust. So unlimited PTO, that is so important for us because we are in a stressful environment. We have deadlines we have to continue to hit. But for you to enjoy your time off with your family and time, we got to make sure that the rest of our team is standing up and doing what they need to do. So things across the culture, from that PTO, continue to work amongst our teams. We have our surveyors that work across from our civil side, our structural guys working right next to it. So all of us are delivering that solution. It doesn't say JQL structural engineering, JQL surveying. No, it says JQL one solution. Like, we all are embracing that we are products of what we're delivering in the community on a day-to-day basis, forever. So that's the culture that we continue to breed. We continue to have events that want to help foster that success. And at the end of the day, we spend, I think, 40% of our lives at the office. The other 30% your sleep. Then the rest is a weekend. So most of your life you're spent in an office environment working with the people that you see on a day-to-day. So we have to have that. Like, what's the worst miserable if you go into work you don't like you work with? It's not going to last long. So that's so important to us in our culture.
Awesome. Dylan, congratulations on being named the 2024 Young Engineer of the Year by ACEC Indiana. Testament to your leadership and contributions to the field. Beyond your role as Principal and Director of Operations at JQOL, you've actively engaged in industry advocacy, including chairing ACEC's Vertical and Private Markets Committee and founding the Indiana Structural Engineers Association's Young Memberships Group. That's a mouthful. How have these leadership roles influenced your perspectives on the structural engineering profession, and what drives your commitment to mentoring and advancing the next generation of engineers?
First of all, thank you. I think one thing I do need to make sure that I point out is that that award was not, it's not a my perception is that's not a recognition of personal achievement. It's a recognition of the community that I have around me. I've told Jarvis this multiple times, but this guy fundamentally changed my life and my career trajectory, adding purpose and fulfillment to something that I didn't really have. But over the course of my entire life, I think I've been very fortunate to have great role models and people that really showed me what leadership truly is. We have a saying, and it's, leaders are people that people follow. And from a very young age, my parents both being leaders in, whatever aspect of work they did, right? My parents have worked in, a number of different industries, and every single time they found themselves in a leadership position, whether or not they wanted it or not. And that's because leaders are created and propped up, and they're not established from the individual. Like, you don't proclaim yourself a leader, others proclaim you a leader. As I've kind of gone through my career and seen different ways that you can operate in different, avenues that you can go, I think the biggest thing for me was kind of figuring out how I wanted to make my impact. I got very fortunate that at a very young age, I knew that I was going to college, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And if it wasn't for a physics teacher my junior year of high school, I'd be doing something completely different. Probably would have failed at designing cars or something like that. But he told me I was going to be a structural engineer, and I started in structural engineering. But once I got into practice, I think the biggest thing that I saw was our jobs are so much bigger than, just the get in, do the work, and get out. At JQOL, we're very, very focused on goal setting. And the first time I ever wrote down a goal was when Jarvis sat me down at career pathing the first time. He said, "What do you want your 1 year and your 10-year goals to be?" And I kid you not, it's very, very funny how quick those goals actually get hit when you start to write them down, because it's something in the back of your mind that you're doing every single day. So when I look at these other organizations that I've been able to be a part of, when we're in a professional scenario where we have a technical expertise or we see a gap where we want something to happen, and we have the ability to go and make any kind of influence, we're going to do that. I mean, public advocacy is something that I didn't know I was going to be I didn't know I was going to be passionate about. I joined a committee with ACEC and went in on day one just ready to learn. And that committee has been so instrumental in protecting engineering in not only the state of Indiana, but across the nation. We see bills come out all the time that are direct attacks on our profession and direct attacks on public safety from what our profession does. And that has given me an avenue to be able to, sit with senators and talk through challenges and things that we're facing on ways that we want to improve. And we're going to do that from a professional standpoint in our firm every single day, but we need the industry to follow that. And it's a committee like that that's given me that opportunity. The Young Members Group is a great example of, I wish I had a Young Members Group when I was getting into engineering. Before I met Jarvis, I didn't know engineers were allowed to go outside. And I'd go in, work, and get out, and I'd have my hobbies, and that was it. But just with partnering with other organizations like AIA and ULI and these other great groups that do such a good job of creating community, I recognize that there is a real need for community, and that community is what helps push us forward. So if I think about what my why is now, it's beyond just, getting to the next level or doing another project or, anything like that. For me, I want to see other people find their why. And if I can help create scenarios or opportunities or create an avenue for somebody to find that purpose or that drive, that's going to be the thing that I'm going to do. So every organization that I'm a part of, every time I say yes when I probably shouldn't, I thank Jarvis for giving me the opportunity to be able to do those things. But every single time I do that is because I see that as an opportunity for somebody else to find their why. And it's bigger than structural engineering. It's across engineering, it's across design, it's across professional, and it's across personal. But you can impact somebody's life holistically if you're just willing to listen and help push them forward.
You have any particular examples of like major successes in that mentoring? Can you think of anybody in particular that you had a major impact on?
I think about, when I'm looking at making an impact for me, I think about just in the firm, right? We have seen so many people grow, and I wouldn't say it's a individualized impact. I would never take full credit for somebody's growth, but it's the environment that we've been able to create, and I've been very fortunate to be able to advocate for. But we've had people in our firm or in this industry that have just about been ready to leave the industry, and we found a spot for them to kind of grow and thrive. We found people that were told that they were not valued as members of their team, and now they're leading teams. And there's a term called borrowed confidence that a friend and mentor of mine has used, and he's written a great editorial on. That's something that I've experienced with what Jarvis has given to me, right? Jarvis has confidence in every person that comes into the firm, and he's instilled that in all of us. But, the opportunities that I've had to grow have been because of that confidence. And when we see other people going through their journey or going through their personal or professional journey, and you see this uncertainty, or you see somebody kind of wavering, right? It's your job and your conviction to help instill that confidence, because all it takes is one voice to drop those barriers away. If they're questioning themselves on every move they make, or every second, or every decision, and they've got a person that they trust saying, no, you can absolutely do this, and we're committed to helping you find a way to get there. It doesn't have to be professional, it can be personal too, but we're always going to do that. I do that with, at home with, my wife is a business owner now, and I can't, she's owned her business longer than she's worked anywhere else, and she's doing amazing in interior design. It's called Accio Design. And seeing her grow just from me being able to be along for the ride and just see what she's done, that stuff is so important.
So your sustainable engineering team focuses on water conservation, green space, and reducing heat islands. Can you share a recent project where sustainability went beyond box checking, where it truly shaped the form, function, and the future of the site?
Absolutely. Sustainability is a word that gets thrown around a lot in engineering. I think it's, every single project that we start or every RFP that we see sustainability. And when we think about sustainability, we have to think about what it really means, right? We have a lot of certifications out there. We have LEED, we have WELL, we have all these different great certifications that help kind of drive focused impact in sustainability. And we've been super fortunate to work on projects that are WELL certified or LEED Gold, and be a part of those teams that have helped in that certification process as a part of our team. But when I think about sustainability holistically in our industry, it is about what you're going to step up and you're going to commit to as an organization. So JQOL, being focused on improving the quality of life, we're going to make personal and professional time commitments, but also financial commitments to making sure those things happen. And what I mean by financial, that is us making sure that we're dedicating resources and time and projects where we are going to push the boundaries of what the project needs to be. We could be utilitarian and we could design straight to the 2012 code in Indiana or whatever the minimum code is in whatever state. Those are minimums, right? We know as a national firm where the industry is going. We know what work is being done in Georgia and on the East Coast and on the West Coast. We have these partners that we've gotten to work with. So when we come into a project and we hear sustainable practices, there's a lot of different ways we can impact that. We can do that with our site design and using green infrastructure to help do retention and retention. We can do that on the structural side by advocating for adaptive reuse over demolition. Reducing embodied carbon impact is another big one. We're always focused on those projects. We had a project up in Gary, Indiana, where we were doing a redevelopment of a project, and at a point in the project, the conversation came up on, should we demo this building and just build a new one? And we as a firm took a very hard stance on that. And we were very fortunate that the rest of the design team came along for the ride. And the reason why is because we picked the right partners. So when we see these projects or we see these challenges, we're always going to advocate for what holistically improves that quality of life. Outside of that, we're a part of an initiative with the NCSEA that is helping to fund research and development to help reduce embodied carbon by revisiting our building codes. And we've committed money to help fund that. And that is so fundamentally important to what our industry is looking for, because if we don't have people that are pushing the envelope and moving things forward, we're just going to sit here and do the exact same thing for the rest of our, professional careers. And we'll be changing that, 2030 commitment to 2060 commitment. So we as a firm, we want to make sure that we're looking at that from all aspects. And, if we can't get LEED certification or WELL certification into a project, we understand, owners have budgets. We're not the one putting that money up, but we are going to help push to whatever's going to be the most sustainable implementation and help make not only our disciplines, but other disciplines successful by helping them succeed.
So I recently had a conversation with Jason Shelley, Executive Director, AIA Indiana, and he was mentioning to me that one of his biggest challenges as an advocate for the AEC industry, architecture specifically, is that Indiana has archaic building codes.
Yep.
By comparison to other cities around us. Has that, you mentioned building codes earlier. Is that a big hurdle for you guys as well?
Yeah. We're last place in the country for building code.
Wow.
We are operating on a 2012 code. We are in 2025. So if you think about what that looks like, and so often I talk about public advocacy, that's where that passion came from. When I saw the side of what brings those things in, that is something that is fundamentally important. But I mentioned it before, it's a minimum, right? The way you phrase your instruction or your recommendation to a project team or an owner is very important, because in most cases, we're not talking about a cost change. Actually, we have committees and commissions right now that are going through building code updates that have shown we have a net cost savings if we update to the new model code. And fingers crossed, we'll be at a new model code next year, which will be a fundamental transformation for building code.
Let's hope so.
We've been hurt before. So, I'm not going to hold my breath, but we had a lot of really, really smart people look through that and put a lot of effort across multiple organizations, the ISEA, ACEC, dedicated professionals to going in and looking at the code and diving in and finding those efficiencies. But from our side, again, it's fundamentally, what are you going to commit to from a firm perspective, right? Our ethical responsibility is to design for people. And if we're designing for people, we do not have to operate on a minimum. We could use that as the minimum to make sure we're meeting the legal requirements of a project, but we also are functioning on, let's maximize how much we can get for the funds of a project and meet those needs. And if we can get the most sustainable, energy systems and design components and all those things into a project and still meet that budget that's going to meet that owner's needs, we're going to push for that every single time to start. And we'll have that conversation throughout every single phase to make sure we're putting the right things in place as we're going through it.
So JQOL's work on civic and public projects like Frederick Douglass Park that you mentioned earlier means designing for entire communities. What have you learned about community engagement that has surprised you or changed the way that you work? And how do you balance stakeholder input, technical constraints, and long-term vision?
So it's a good question. I like to use the project of Indigo. Indigo is the Indianapolis transit system, and we are the community liaisons on that. So what that means is that any issues or any contact comes through us first. On this project that stretches all the way from Meridian all the way to Post Road, all the way Post Road to IB Tech campus, sometimes in the built environment, we just built things. Now, community has been waiting for it forever, but we don't really look at the impacts that it has to the local residents, the businesses, the inconvenience. Let's just be honest. Construction's inconvenient.
Yeah.
Right. But we are so far are looking at the front of it like, hey, it's going to be better when these get done. But during that process, this multi-year process is so important that we have that. And Indigo prioritizes that. The public outreach is so important. So what we do on these types of projects is we let the community know ahead of time, because construction, it's going to affect your local roads. It affects the drives. It affects the local businesses, whether their drive is closed, the traffic changes. So we're so far in front of it. And I think as an industry, we need to do a better job of that, of updating the community, bring them along the process. Therefore, when things happen, they are knowledgeable, they understand, and they can change their daily routes to adjust to what they need to do, whether it's if this road is closed, there's going to be constraint, they can make that type of adjustment to their lives. We all know it's going to be better at the end, but this outreach is so important where on the Indigo, we provide a 2-week outlook. It tells you what is going on, how's it going to be affected. But we started this years ahead of the project of letting the community members know that this is coming down the line, this is what to expect. And so it reduces that surprise during the process. It reduces the complaints. It reduces when you keep and bring the whole community on board, you get more of a successful project during the project, after it, and even before the project, where they understand they have the input, because at the end of the day, these are tax dollars, right? These are the dollars that me, you, everyone are spending on to make their community. So it is ownership of that. And so we don't take for granted any dollar that's spent, just like me and you don't take for granted our paychecks that we work for. So we want to make sure it's spent in the best, most efficient and quality form. And so this public outreach, we can't do enough of it. And we need to continue to focus on it as an industry. How do we build it, grow it? And this is what really makes a successful project, when you bring everybody involved. And therefore, you kind of don't miss things because you've touched base on everything that the community needs.
Makes sense. Looking ahead 5 to 10 years, what excites you most about where JQOL is heading? What are the project types, technologies, or impact areas you're especially eager to explore? And how do you plan to keep that mission of quality of life front and center as the firm grows?
And it's exciting because we're 6 years in and we're 60 plus people. I couldn't have predicted that 6 years ago. The disciplines that we've done, that we have blown our 5-year growth plan out the water. What we are focusing on right now is bettering people and bettering communities. Each person we add to the organization, I say it's like a fist and each person's a finger. We're adding a new network, a new set of skills, a new set of brain power that's going to help us grow and help the business grow. And so we are open and adaptive to what the industry is having. And what's great about being a young firm is that we have the ability to pivot. We've started over several times. We've had several office space, so we're not afraid to, all right, well, that didn't work, let's try it again. But that's what's exciting about that, is the growth of a new firm. I mean, if you'd have told us that we were at Savannah, Georgia 5 years ago, I would be like, heck no. You'd have told us last year, let alone we'd be there. But the opportunities to duplicate the excitement that everyone has around here, that quality of life, we just want to share it. We want to make sure like the fulfillment that Dylan and I get on a daily basis, where we wake up and it doesn't feel like work, that we're changing and making that impact of fulfillment. We want to continue to grow and build that. So if you tell me that, hey, where we're going to be in 10 years, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would tell you that we're not going to stop. We're just going to continue to build opportunities, because we have several people out here that want to grow to the next level. And we're going to continue to help develop and grow them as the firm grows. And that's the exciting part about that, because we have partners that see that. And as they grow, we grow, and we'll continue to change the environment for all our babies that we're part of.
Speaking of how you feel about going to work, I heard once that you can really tell company culture by how your employees feel on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Do you think your employees can relate to that pretty well?
I personally think so.
Yeah.
In our we have very low turnover at the end of the day. Most people have been here for several years, and most of the turnover comes they just want to exit the industry totally. But I truly believe that people enjoy the environment that we are building here. It shows.
Cool.
It shows in the work if they do it.
As we wrap up, let me ask one bonus question here. What is one thing that many people don't know about JQOL that you wish they did? Something that you don't get to advertise very often, something that doesn't come up in conversation very often. What's one thing that even if it's small, what's one thing that you wish people knew about JQOL that most people don't?
I would say that we are an open firm to new ideas, growth, and entrepreneurship. And so if there's some aspect or something that you have, a unique thing that you want to try, we embrace all ideas from anybody and everybody. And I know sometimes there's no dumb idea, no dumb question, but we truly take a look at it to see how, because how can we grow and build if we don't have all the answers. If we did have all the answers, we'll be a 5-person firm here with me and Dylan running and doing everything. But the opportunity to grow, build, and challenge ourselves and challenge the industry. And what we're doing is challenge the industry to be better. And the better we are, we're going to elevate others. And so I would say that would be one of the things, though.
Yeah, we say it a lot. Conversation is free, right? We're always willing to have a conversation about something, and it could be the most outlandish idea that you could think of, right? I mean, I was the AI pessimist 2 years ago. And now, in terms of just being able to talk to people and broaden my horizons, right? There are real implementations that we're going to be able to make an impact on from our firm on the business side and on the technical side to be able to use that. That only comes with having these conversations. And I will say from a firm service perspective, we talk about a lot of really amazing projects. And the thing we probably don't talk enough about are all of the small things that we do in between those really big projects that are truly impacting communities. I've had the question come to me saying, do you do small projects? And the answer is absolutely. If a project meets our values and we can help support you, we will do that. And if we can't, we will give you somebody that can. And I don't want people to feel like when they have a problem that they're stuck in just Google and they don't know what to do, right? I would rather them reach out and let us kind of open those doors, right? It's not always going to be a JQL thing that we could do, but we want to prop up and we want to, provide value across the board for people. And that's not only going to be in our services, it's going to be in the networks that we have or the partners that we trust or the people that we know that are going to do a great job. And it shouldn't matter what type of construction or what size project for certain quality. You should get that same quality regardless. And I'll always push for that. And, if somebody wants to call and ask a question, I'll give them my phone number and we'll have a conversation, right? Because we're always going to be that resource for people.
Cool. Thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you.